Hi there, Reject Nation. I'm Greg Alba.
I'm Jonald Humphrey.
We watched the movie Annabelle Comes Home, the 7th movie in the Conjuring universe. Before we go into that, it's time to do a sponsorship video thingy before we Yep, let's do it. John, what is it about today?
We are talking about the Ridge Wallet. That's right, people. If you've ever seen The Needle Drop or several other YouTube channels, you've probably heard of the Ridge. They make these badass metal-plated minimalist wallets as well as weatherproof backpacks. They make power banks, charging cables, minimalist but still highly functional, highly stylish. So if you go to ridge.com/rejectnation, you can take 10% off your order and ditch your big, thick wallet you're tired of sitting on, man. This fits easily in a breast pocket or a front pocket, keeps all your stuff in order, plus it comes with a money clip or a money strap you can customize. There's a bunch of colors. They come in carbon fiber, aluminum. Go check them out, people. It's good stuff over there.
I tell the Needle Drop we mentioned him.
Yeah, that's right. He needs the promo from us especially.
While babysitting the daughter of Ed and Lorraine Warren, a teenager and her friend unknowingly awaken an evil spirit trapped in a doll. I submitted that to IMDb. They accepted. Thank you, guys. I thought I would get paid, but you didn't pay me anything, because that is the perfect description. Number 7 in the Conjuring universe. It's getting pretty okay reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, actually.
63 at the time of recording.
Pretty good. YouTubers I follow, I haven't really been a big fan of this movie. Annabelle 1, kind of known to not be such a great film. Annabelle Creation, known to be a lot better than people expected. Here's how I feel about the movie. Conjuring 1 and 2 are pretty hard to top in this whole universe, okay? I had pretty low expectations for this. Like, I was excited to check it out just because, you know, I like universe movies. Sure, why not? I'm one of those guys. But I saw the trailers and I was like, this might not be so good. It looks like it's taking itself way too seriously, and it just seems like it's going to be unintentionally cheesy the whole time. I gotta say, I actually quite enjoyed it. I had a really, really good time. I know there are things that John and I ultimately disagree on. What you'll find probably of us talking about it is there are things that I agree with him on, that the movie does it. I just feel differently towards those things. Is this movie really, does it redefine the genre? Does it redefine the way the Conjuring movies work in their outlines? No, it does not. But I did think this movie was a lot of fun. I thought the acting in it was great, especially the lead, McKenna Grace. I thought she was wonderful in the movie. I like that it was a contained movie that all takes place pretty much at the Warrens' residence for majority of the runtime. I like the tone it struck, especially around the time you get to Act 2 and as the film progresses, it becomes just a really funhouse, spooky horror film. While I think that they do an overabundance of jump scares in here, it's just something I kind of come to expect from the Conjuring universe films. There's at least 3 I can think of that really got me, where I was like, whoa, that was scary. One of those that I actually thought, like, oh, I see it coming. But then when it happened, the visual design, that's another thing I liked about this movie, was a lot of the really cool visual aesthetic here was something that really hooked me in it. And it's to me, I'm like, it's a fun house popcorn horror film. I enjoyed it quite a bit, a lot more than I thought I would. On a cinematography level, I thought this one was captured really well. It seems like anyone who works with James Wan, their cue is to kind of borrow his style. Yeah, John, what are your thoughts?
This is an interesting movie to me because I was looking forward to going to see it. I had heard it was kind of different, and in hindsight, I enjoyed it. When I was actually watching it, I actually wasn't liking it at all during the first act, and I thought that over the course of the movie, I found myself enjoying it increasingly as it added its own color and its own personality and its own energy to things. Basically, this was a movie to me that started out really flat and rote and familiar and not really unique in any way, and also, too, I was kind of distracted because I'm like, okay, we've got the girl from Goosebumps, and we've got the little girl from The Haunting of Hill House, and we've got this like plug-and-play casting of like all these people I've seen in other horror movies. To me, the Conjuring universe exists in 2 halves. There's the Conjuring films called The Conjuring, and there's everything else. These spin-offs are really hit and miss, and so yeah, for me, this was an experience where once the movie really started to make it clear that it wanted to do its own thing, I started to appreciate it more, and I started to just become genuinely more pulled into it. Ultimately, especially by the 3rd act, I was having a good time and I was having fun with it.
I guess it took you till the 3rd act. It took me till Act 2. It was pretty much right around
for me,
there.
it was like Act 1, I was like, I don't like this. Act 2, I was like, okay, this is all right, actually. This is kind of neat. And then Act 3, I was like, I'm having fun, you know?
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Act 1 was the only time I was, like, frustrated. I was like, really?
I'm so surprised by that. For me, I wasn't that bothered by Act 1. There's one moment in there that I thought was really dumb. It's pretty much the way the character you see in the trailer. You basically have the character Mary Ellen, who's babysitting Ed and Lorraine's daughter, Judy, and then Mary Ellen invites a friend over named Daniela. In the movie, Mary Ellen and Judy, they go outside the house and they're like, don't do anything stupid, Daniela, while we're gone.
Don't do the only thing you've talked about in this plot.
Of wanting to snoop around and then look at some stuff. And even the way she's answering, you're like, you know she's obviously going to.
This is a person who's up to something.
Yeah, that whole reasoning of how basically the plot kicks into gear is dumb. That was pretty silly on the character's ends. But that's really the only one character moment in terms of writing that I have an issue with. It just seemed like a contrived way to get the freaking plot of the movie going.
Yeah.
So I wasn't a fan of that. It's a little better justified once you find out what Daniela's motive is, other than stupid teenager. You find out like, oh, she has a very personal reason. In some ways, this movie sort of evolves into her movie.
And that's one thing that I did find nice, and that does harken more towards like Annabelle creation than say The Nun or something, which is like, I thought they did pay attention to the characters and they bothered to write some actual emotional beats and stuff. They bothered to have some actual endearing moments just watching them. The haunting element of this movie builds over time, and so what's nice about that is that you do get to spend time with the characters, and the movie does actually seem to care about them.
I feel like you got two different kinds of horror films that sort of exist now. You got your Babadooks and Hereditaries, and you can probably even throw Us into that kind of category. Then you got your, Child's Play and Conjuring films,
you got art house horror, blockbuster horror,
These are the kind of films that I usually can get annoyed or bored by, or just be like, you're trying too hard to take itself seriously. You think you're scarier than you are. For me, there were a few scary moments in here. There's a few tense scenes. Overall, when the plot really kicks in, I was having a really fun time with it. I think there are things that could obviously make this movie better. I think the Conjuring universe better in general are some better established rules of how the supernatural entities work. A lot of the times you find yourself kind of going, okay, what did another movie do? Okay, I guess I can sort of figure out this rule, because there are some things that I was just sort of confused on why the demons just didn't handle shit earlier in the movie. The demons have like some type of motive, because there's multiple. There's more than just Annabelle. Annabelle's whole thing.
Oh, she's like a beacon for malevolent spirits and demons and things.
So it's not just Annabelle's movie. In a lot of ways, they could have called this the Conjuring subtitle Annabelle, because it's so much more than Annabelle. There are times I would forget I'm watching an Annabelle direct movie.
Well, and it has that. I think they've even used Night at the Museum as an actual touchstone of like, it's kind of like that, because it's all about their little museum of haunted oddities coming to life, assailing these three girls in different ways.
This is one of those like popcorn horror films where when I turn off my brain, I can really sit back and have a fun time. It's scripted decently well. In the third act, I wasn't a fan of the whole how do we solve this problem agenda that all the Conjuring movies have. That they have their big third act finale where you got to do some crazy thing to figure out how to stop the demon, right?
Oh, see, this one I was like, this is the most simple solution they've ever come up with.
No, that was my problem with it. It was too simple. It was to the point where things just started seeming a little bit convenient. There are things that happen off camera to solve the problems, and then when they get to the point where they have to do the big solution moment, I'm like, that was it? That's all you had to do? That was...
Oh, see, weirdly, that didn't bug me.
It bugged me because I felt like when you got to that point, they weren't really putting much of a fight up. And they seemed like they were trying a lot harder the demons and stuff before they got... You'll know what I mean when I watch the movie, but that's kind of my point with the rules of the demons. They seem like they can kind of do anything. I don't really understand what... the limits are, or what their exact thing is that they do. They just seem like
why do they do it?
Like, why do they do it the way they do it?
Yeah, there is a good amount that you could probably, and again, I would like to see this again to see how it hits me knowing what the movie is, but I feel like there are certain aspects of that you just wonder, is this happening because it's a horror movie and they know that it's a horror movie, or is this happening because the spirit is this way, or there are a lot of things that get left gray and that start to become, oh yeah, it's a a horror movie. That's why this is happening.
Yeah, these are things that I thought about after the movie, but in the immediacy of watching it, I was having a great time. I don't know if it's as fun as like a Child's Play or something. I did think it was a lot better than I expected. It's a fine movie. I don't know. Anyone who's like saying this is like a terrible film, I don't agree with that.
No. It's pretty fun. It's pretty wild, and this really does feel like The Conjuring meets Insidious. Props to Gary Doberman because, I mean, for better and for worse, he's written most of these movies, and I thought that behind the camera, he brought a good amount of punch and personality, especially when the movie starts to go crazier, get more creative.
Well, one thing I liked about it, in the beginning of the movie, I thought it was just going to be like gung-ho right away. Like, that's the way it sort of feels in the beginning, that we're just going to go crazy immediately.
Yeah.
And then the movie takes a moment to slow down, kind of reel itself in, so that way it could become a movie that starts having an actual build-up. I remember earlier on, I thought, okay, we're going to start losing character stuff, and then we're just going to go into like a bunch of crazy shit. But then the movie would stop, and then, no, let's keep developing these characters and the situations more. Let's keep developing that, and then we'll go crazier.
Yeah.
And so I appreciated the buildup of it, and I appreciate that it does take time to slow down, let the characters truly develop personalities where you do root for them.
Yeah, and they use the jumps too in an interesting way because there are times where you think they're setting up for a scare and then they subvert you with a scene. And then, that strengthens some of the other jumps throughout the movie and some of the more, popcorn elements.
I think a lot of the jump scares and a lot of these cool reveal things are often undercut by having sound design, by having this,
telegraph,
this rumbling sound in the background, and having music occur. Because a lot of times the scariest moments in here are when there's no music, when there's no sound effects going on.
Yeah, when you're really left to be in the quiet, dark room with all the creepy shadows in it.
All your sound and all your Hollywood shit is actually ruining the effect that you're trying to get me at. I'd recommend it. I would give it like a positive 3.5 out of 5. That's where I would give it.
Yeah, I'd probably give it like a 3. Knock off the half for some of my bumps. Also, shouts out to Michael Cimino from Trick or Treat. Getting to be sexy male lead again.
Oh, yeah, and Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson, they got a paycheck.
Yeah, they're here.
Yeah, they
I mean, that's the reason this isn't a Conjuring movie, because they show up at the beginning, check out, and then they come back at the end.
It was kind of like when actors agree to be a part of like a theme park ride at Universal Studios.
Yeah. So you showed up for a day just to remind us that this is all in the same bubble.
You're not really giving a full-on performance here, but you're doing your thing.
Yeah, you're putting on the costume and doing the basics.
Well, Annabelle 4. Annabelle 2020.
3.
That's what they should do.
Annabelle in space. Annabelle 3D. That would have been the perfect
Annabelle
opportunity.
4DX.
Annabelle 5 ever.
Which character from the Conjuring universe are you still anxiously waiting for? Crooked Man? So am I. Guys, you can subscribe to the Reject Nation. Click that notification bell. John, Ridge.
Ridge Wallet. TheRidge.com/RejectNation. Enter promo code RejectNation. Save 10%. Get yourself a wallet, man, or a backpack, or a charging station. Let's wrap this video up.
Yep.